Tillerson says if provoked by North Korea, the United States would consider military action in response.
The policy of strategic patience has ended. We're exploring a new range of diplomatic, security, and economic measures. All options are on the table.
All right, Tillerson's visit to South Korea comes as North Korea refuses to back down on missile tests. South Korea facing blowback from China over the use of a missile defense system that the U.S. sent over there. We're joined now live at the Pentagon by CNN's Barbara Starr. These statements from Rex Tillerson on the military option and the end of strategic patience significant.
Very significant, John. You know, you always hear the phrase, all options are on the table. But now it is different because North Korea is accelerating its weapons program. Just a short time ago, a tweet, yes indeed, a tweet from President Donald Trump. Let me read that to you. The president tweeting, North Korea is behaving very badly. They have been playing the United States for years. China has done little to help. That last phrase important. The U.S. has tried to get China to intervene. The U.S. feels China has not done enough, and North Korea moving ahead. What is the threat right now? Well, U.S. intelligence officials and military officials say North Korea working away at its underground nuclear test site. They could conduct a sixth underground nuclear test at any time. They are working on their missile program. Recent satellite imagery shows them moving equipment around associated with a potential intercontinental ballistic missile launch. They don't have a missile yet that could reach the United States, but all of these things, the nuclear testing, the missile program, these are all considered by the U.S. military to be provocations. Would those be provocations that the White House would order the U.S. military to respond to? That is a question on the table. John?
All right, Barbara Starr, fascinating first trip to Asia for the Secretary of State. Thank you so much. 90 minutes from now, President Trump welcomes German Chancellor Angela Merkel to the White House. The two leaders, they'll be meeting for the very first time. He had a lot to say about Chancellor Merkel during the campaign, and most of it wasn't nice or flattering. With me now is David Edelman, editor emeritus of World Policy Journal. He also writes for CNN.com Opinions, where you can find his latest piece, Donald Trump and Angela Merkel, the odd couple. So, David, the real odd couple, you know, Oscar's Messi and Felix is neat, right?
Right.
You list some of the differences between President Trump and Chancellor Merkel here. Russia, NATO, trade, climate change, refugees, counterterrorism. That's a big list. I want to start with Russia, which may be the most important given the context of everything that's going on. What's the big difference there?
Well, Russia, there is a big difference. There's no doubt about that. And what's interesting is the strengths of these two people. Some say this conversation will be the leader of the free world meets Donald Trump, which is kind of interesting. But really, Merkel understands Putin better than any other Western leader. There's no doubt about that. And she is very concerned about Donald Trump's sort of efforts to restart the relationship, to become closer to Putin. She understands the dangers in that because she talks to Putin virtually every week. She believes it is essential for some Western leader to have a real rapport with Putin that doesn't necessarily mean slavishly at his feet, because she understands his strengths and what he could pose to the Western alliance.
Hey, remember, President-elect Trump at the time put Chancellor Merkel and Vladimir Putin sort of on the same moral plane as he was assuming the presidency. He essentially said he would trust them equally until proven otherwise.
Right, exactly. And that's a real problem because Merkel, you know, you have to understand Merkel's background. She was born in East Germany, under the Stasi, under the East European communist rule. She grew up there. That's how she was raised before the two Germanys came together. So now, when she gets in front of Donald Trump, this is her chance to educate him as to what that really means, potentially, for democracy, for the United States' future in the world as a leader of the democratic world. And that's really very vital. If Trump can sit there and listen to this, that's vitally important.
Who has the upper hand at the meeting today?
Well, no one really has an upper hand in that sense. As you suggested, Trump's going to try to play the trade card. He's going to try to suggest that Germany isn't putting in enough money into its defense and so on. All of these are interesting objects for discussion, but certainly nothing that Merkel can't come back out with a discussion as well. What I think they really need to do is they need to take a measure of each other. Merkel is kind of the first of her lessons. She was very good at teaching Barack Obama how to deal with Putin, how to deal with the world. Hopefully she will be able to perform some of that same mission with Trump, if he's willing to listen. This would be the first stage in that kind of a listening session.
And there's baggage here in this relationship, right? You know, President Trump, when he was candidate, Trump was very critical of Chancellor Merkel, particularly on Germany's refugee policy towards Syrian refugees. Here's just a little reminder of what he said during the campaign.
The German people are going to riot. The German people are going to end up overthrowing this woman. I don't know what the hell she's thinking.
You watch what happens to Angela Merkel, who I always thought of as a very good leader until she did this. I don't know what went wrong with her. I don't know. What went wrong? Angela, what happened?
Hillary Clinton wants to be America's Angela Merkel.
So how do you think she'll handle that history there?
Well, I think what she's going to say is, look what's happened here. We have managed to absorb all of these refugees, some of, over a matter of really not just this current wave, but waves going back, really back to the 1970s, 1980s. We have absorbed them. We have proved to be the leader of Europe in doing this sort of a thing. It is a humanitarian gesture. It's also a very important financial gesture for Germany because they are filling jobs in Germany that Germans don't want to fill and can't fill. So there is a certain risk, but she understands also the benefits that can result as well.
And the other thing that may happen today that has nothing to do with her is she may be standing next to the president when he has to face questions about the fact the White House had to apologize to Great Britain overnight for things that the White House has been saying on wiretapping. We'll see how she handles that as well. David Adelman, great to have you with us. Thanks so much. Interesting discussion. The White House says the president's budget is focused on national